It just a saying came back to me of a friend that used to say this years ago. And he would say, I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would you want to do? Hello there. I'm Cindy, Midlife Psychic, and I'm so excited that you are joining me today for a series that I have been waiting to launch since even before I started my YouTube channel. The reason I'm so excited about it is because it focuses on people in our own community, and therefore it's called Community Corner. There are so many talented folks right in our little neck of the woods here that I can't wait to introduce you to some of them so that you can be inspired and maybe reach out to them yourself if you have any more questions or interest in what they do. I'll always put their information in the description box below here. So our first guest combines some really interesting modalities with her art and spiritual messaging. That's like something I don't think you've ever seen before. So I am happy to introduce to you today as our very first guest, Stacy from Sacred Keycodes. So without further ado, let's go meet Stacy.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for having me on. It is such a pleasure and an honor to connect to your audience. So, my name is Stacy of Sacred Keycodes, and I work with the Akashic Records as my main modality. And through a lot of trial and error, I've combined that with the art that I also love to do. So, the first main offering that I have are soul code portraits, which are intuitive art pieces channeled from the Akashic Records that are really all around your soul's journey. And they offer this living transmission that really embodies your divine essence and gives you the information to really remember who you are at your core, to activate your soul gifts, and to really start to integrate and embody all that you are as you're expanding into your own spiritual journey. And for people further along in their path or starting their own kind of entrepreneurial business or YouTube channel, I offer I offer business readings that are kind of combined with a either logo or some kind of graphic design that helps that person have a symbolic representation of the work that they are providing to the world.
Stacy, tell me a little bit about your process and what inspired you to combine art with spirit messages.
I started doing art again after I was having a lot of kind of hard spiritual experiences. Like it was like a harsh awakening where I wasn't really prepared for it. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And it put a lot of fear on me, and it actually ended up shutting down more than it helped me open up. And having art in my life kind of gave me that space where I could connect to spirit without kind of being bombarded or being in fear of what was going to happen. It really just let me get into that channeling state because it was so natural for me, and it allowed that energy to flow through me in a way that I felt safe and comfortable. And then later on, I learned about the Akashic Records, and then all my focus was on the Akashic Records. I just wanted to only do the Akashic Records, and that was my focus. And then in the past year, it's kind of finally began to come back together again, where I've started to do my art in the Akashic Records. I've started to really experience what it's like to bring through this higher perspective through my artwork so it can really be that transmission of light that people are looking for, and it can also give them that spiritual information. Because when I started doing the paintings, I thought the painting will be enough and the logo will be enough, and people inevitably they want more. They want to have that foundation that says, this is what it means for you. This is the energy behind this. This is how it supports you. This is who you are. And really giving that reflection back to them, because I think a lot of us really don't have that higher perspective of what we actually have to offer the world and how important your voice, your message, your modalities truly are. So.
Yeah. And so when you go into the Akashic Records, for those that are not as familiar, you go into the Akashic Records and you ask about the soul's intention in this lifetime, and then you channel that onto the canvas. Is that how you get to that artwork?
So,
Is your, yeah.
so my process is actually a little bit backwards because I like to actually channel the art in the record. So I connect into their Akashic records and their energy, and I let that energy flow out onto the canvas without my mental mind trying to interpret everything, because that creates the space to really let that flow and really let that kind of divine energy be on the canvas. And then I'll go back into the records and I'll start translating. Why did I put this here? What does that mean? And kind of get that information after the fact, because it just, I feel, opens up a lot more space for that. Otherwise, it's too kind of um logical. It's like, oh, third eye, you're psychic. It's like, no, it doesn't just mean that. So, for example, I noticed through, I think, almost all of my soul code portraits, I end up doing like this DNA. And I had a couple come. So I did the males and I did the females. And the male, his DNA strand was connected to the sacred geometry. And he was asking, like, what's the DNA? What does it mean? Just wanting to know the facts. And what came through for him was really that his DNA was activated through drawing sacred geometry and really connecting to these shapes intuitively. And it just helped him also get out of his head, but also it was complicated enough for him to be focused on something. So it's like it just really opened up this space for him to really open up his intuition. And then for the female portrait, it was really interesting because her DNA meant something totally different. But again, he was curious, like, what does it mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
And when I went into the records and I translated it, her DNA was actually around remembering. So when she started remembering her past lives and started bringing in this information on a soul level through her current experience, it really started to activate her DNA. So it was like a different avenue on how they activate their DNA and how they start really expanding their own spiritual capacities, even though it was the same symbol. So
Wow. So that how long does that take?
the painting
Yeah.
could take
I mean,
the
that's a,
paintings, they take a while.
yeah.
I shoot for 4 to 6 weeks on the painting just because I don't just sit there and do it all at once. It kind of, I work on it here and I work on it there. But I would say if I were to combine all those hours together, probably 20 plus hours, just because it is so intentional and it really does get deep. And I don't know, a lot of my artwork has that kind of, whoa, I didn't see that in there, or why is that there? It just has all these little details that kind of emerge through the painting. And I really attribute that to kind of just like any reading. When you get the reading the first time, you're like, I heard everything, I got it, I know everything, got it. And then you listen to it a month or 2 months later, and you're like, I had no idea she said any of this.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think it's the same way with the painting. And I've also had clients tell me it kind of evolves with them. So it's like when they start to change perspective and the meaning of the painting also starts to change. The I've had another person, they say that it speaks to them. Like they feel like the portrait is guiding them, that it's reminding them of who they are, and it's giving them this information on a soul level that they didn't really get without it. So,
That's one part of what you do. And then the other part of what you do is more for those folks who want to, kind of branding or inspirational, like my intro and outro and logos and things like that. And but you still incorporate that soul, that Akashic energy of their soul into that, but just in using it in a different format.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say with the logos or the graphic designs particularly, we're not just connecting to your soul energy, but we're also connecting to the intention of this business or this YouTube or whatever it is you're presenting to the world. Because sometimes we don't want to present all of ourselves in every aspect of our soul because some of it is just for you. Just like some of your journey is not to be shared with the masses, it's just for you. And I feel the same way when creating a logo. So with your logo, for example, I felt like it was really about power, energy, strength, and it really had this strong energy. And you're reading about using voice, and I think it really helps direct the energy because with yours, for example, I know there's a soft side of Cindy. She's very feminine and loving and caring and nurturing. But at the forefront, it's like, I am here to give a message. I'm here to inspire people. I'm here to awaken people into their own greatness, to help them step forward, to give them the community, to give them the things that they need to show them that it's possible. And so I think the logo or the graphic design in particularly is based on you, but more importantly, it's based on what you're creating and what the world needs from you at this time.
And it really is a very different than what most logos in this space look like. It really is, and it's that's what makes it great. So I'm thrilled with it. Um, so one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit today is that now that I have stepped into YouTube after being terrified to do so and hesitating, and is that I there's a real draw, I think, for me to speak about today, that I think this is a spot that's going to be more and more used by more and more people for businesses. Yeah, I kind of feel like websites are going to be going kind of the way of the dodo, and a lot of people are just going to say, "Come to my YouTube channel." Or I feel like anybody watching today that feel like I'd like to like tiptoe in to see how this will work for me. It's not a huge investment, but somewhere I can get my word out or people can contact me, that it's a really great time and I can see it growing in the future. It's just going to be getting more and more. So our purpose today is to also encourage anybody else who's on the fence thinking, should I not? There is always that element of the fool card from the tarot deck where you have to take that little bit of a leap, but leaping into something that you're interested in where you can combine the work and the purpose for the purposeful work that can be fulfilling. Because I think a lot of us feel like you said, Stacy, it's got to be separate. Like there's, you got to work is this, and then we have this thing that we can do that's spiritual, or that's the thing we really want to do, but not that the two aren't supposed to combine. I feel like that is changing. And what else is changing is people's voices need to be heard more. The audience here, if you feel like you need to be have a voice, and that you were wondering what's the time is now.
Um, One thing that I would like to add, I agree 100% what you said about YouTube. It's almost like not in the future, it's happening now. Having that front face through your YouTube or through your social media where people can connect with you is going to be absolutely irreplaceable.
Yeah, and even
So,
even if you own even let's say you own a florist shop, right? And you've been working at it and it just nothing's quite clicking. Maybe what's missing is that soul part of you that isn't being translated properly into, whether it's your marketing or your logo or whatever. Maybe that's not really you there. Maybe it's just what we thought it had to be. It's a changing narrative now. It doesn't have to be like my logo, very different than what's in the space. And that's good. And for everybody, it's going to be their expression of them. And authenticity and expression of your authentic self is so on point right now. And that's another great change that's coming. So
yeah. And
anyway,
I just to add to that,
yeah, go ahead.
with what you said about authenticity, it's like now more than ever, even just a year ago, we didn't have this openness that we have today. So like the more people step up, the more people start to normalize this, the more other people can express their weirdness. They can express their true nature and like their own perspectives. And I think that's a lot with what's missing is because you think, oh, nobody's like me. Oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. But if you share, you'll be like, 10 people will just say, yeah, I had the same experience. I totally get it. And I think it's amazing to see because we're starting to get that feedback to maybe we're not just the lonely weirdo. Maybe we're all weirdos.
Let's
So,
be weirdos together. Yeah.
yeah.
No, and that's true. It really is. You can see it in just about everything now. That trend away from everybody looking the same. Everybody, it's nice. I think let's celebrate some of the good changes that we've been experiencing now too. Now, Stacey, tell me, what is Sacred Keycodes? What does that mean?
Um, so when I was kind of I was the avoider.
You were
So
what, the avoider?
yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I was kind of I can't do this unless I have a name. I can't do this unless I have that. And I was kind of making up all these excuses, but I was kind of really pressed on I need a name that kind of encompasses everything because I didn't really have a set thing that I wanted to do. But um then it just kind of came to me through like I was actually I was like asking the Akashic Records, how do I come up with a title? And they were like, I can't just give it to you because you're too much in your head. And so they gave me this vision of flipping through a book. And they showed me the book and I was like, oh, I have that book. And I went and I flipped through the book and I just went, okay, this word and this word. And it was like, wow, that's great. It just totally resonated. It has my
You just pointed to
initials.
you pointed to
Yes,
the words.
yes.
That's great.
And it's kind of like one of those things where you learn later, like, oh, that was so spot on. It's like that's exactly what I needed. And now, like connecting it to my work now, it's like for me, the sacred is just like everything really in reality and everything we experience because it's all our creation, right? And the stuff in my work, it's like spirituality is really what pulled me out of my darkness and really starting to shift that perspective to see like all of our experiences, everything that we've done is something that's important. And the key codes is really perfect because, you know, um, in essence, a key code is basically an energetic code or transmission or, download that houses all this other information that kind of triggers this awakening, that triggers these activations, these remembrances, and everything else. And so when you look at art, for example, I see it as having a lot of key codes, a lot of light, because it's not something that's solid, right? It's something that shifts and changes with you. It gives you information that you may not have ever seen before, just like everything else. And I feel like it's exactly what my work represents in a way. So,
I was always curious about that. I just love the way you
yes.
picked the name.
I found it funny because when I was first into doing channeling, I was channeling a guide. And the first exercise when you connect with your guide is to get their name. And I could not get their name. I was just like, I need a name. But I went to bed that night with the intention. I didn't even have an intention. I was just like thinking of the book, the name, the connecting. And then I woke up with the name just like echoing in my head over and over and over again. And sometimes that's just how spirit works. We kind of just step aside and we see how things line up later
Yeah.
and how it makes sense. So, yeah.
Now, would you say that you're an Akashic record reader and a channeler, and how would you describe, or is it, before I say that, I think there's a lot of people who feel like we have to put labels on everything, and I think that, you know, I did a video a little while ago where I talked about spiritual cross training, combining different things. But how do you feel like you when you're combining things, or do you favor certain modalities? Tell me a little bit about.
Um, so I favored the Akashic Records because I felt like it was a lot bigger than just like psychic or um, all these other things because it felt like small to me. I felt like, oh, this has all the things. But I have noticed when I say Akashic Record Reader, people have been programmed to think, oh, past life reader. And that has not been the case for me. And for me, the Akashic Records is closer to tapping into your soul's journey, but not in a sense where we're going back and we're getting information to make us feel special from the past, but to bring us the information that will help us evolve as a soul and to go more into the work that we're meant to do here and now. And I think having that perspective shift that we're not only just focused on the past lives, and a lot of the times they may be irrelevant because it's almost like the more you want to learn the past life, the more you're escaping the importance of this moment right here. And also, what the records have shown me is they're all connected. So it's almost like the strings of a puppet. It's like this life was messed up, but here, that's why your shoulder's messed up. So we just fix this trauma or whatever. We can do it here. We can do everything from this life and all the triggers and all the limitations, all the things that show up for us right here, right now, is the work of whatever happened in that past life. And you don't need to put all your focus there because you can't change that, but you can change this. And so that's the way that I see the past lives working into the records in a way that actually moves us forward. A lot of the times when I do connect to past lives, the records almost like just leave out the names. It's like this is the energy profile of what you experienced and why you're repeating this pattern. So if we can heal this root block, then it will open up pathways. We don't need to focus that. We need to focus on this energy of this blockage that's holding you back right here. So,
Yeah, the Akashic records for me too, I find really interesting. And I think I kind of describe it like the cloud of everything that is that individual. Like it's
yeah.
all stored in the cloud, but but I like the way you put it too, because I do that past life.
Mm-hmm.
It really is important. This is the most important life, right? This is the one that we're living right now is the most important.
Yeah. And another thing that I like about it, it's almost like we always say what they need in this moment. And so it's almost like the Akashic records have this amazing thing where they meet you where you are. And the more your understanding starts to evolve, the more depth that the record readings that you receive evolve. It's really like this mirror match that I haven't really seen in other modalities,
Yeah.
but it so perfectly gives you what you need to get to this higher or more broader perspective or this change that you're needing to make. So,
Yeah, and that is the intention before the Akashic readings too, as to what's going to be the best thing for this individual
yes.
to know at this time for their highest and best good, right?
Mhm.
So very interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stacy, for sharing all of this with us today. And am going to have, like I said, Stacy's information will be below in the description, her website. So if you want to get more information from her see some more of her art, reach out to her. That is the way to do it. And I want to thank everybody today for coming to the community corner and for letting us know your thoughts and giving the show a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff. And we look forward to seeing you on the next show. So
Thank you
thank you
so much.
so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.